This is really a rare occasion, you know. Pick up the Grand Rapids paper, you do see some pictures of people celebrating 50 years, but they keep getting more scarce and more scarce. And so I think these are really rare occasions that we can get together and celebrate like this. And it just seems to me that the area related to the church and religious activities of the family has had a lot to do with families hanging together. The church has been so much a part of Ken and Jane's life, and we were a part of that. That's how we got to be friends. And so it's just great to be here. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we're so grateful that we could be together here to celebrate these years, 50 years together, of being your people and being a part of your people, reaching out in love in so many wonderful ways, and that love which you have taught us, that goes through us and touches yet others. And so here we are, a group of persons who have shared that love and that fellowship. And so we sit down to do that again, to celebrate 50 years for Ken and Jane. And we pray that you would be with each one of us, be with each of our families, and that you would bless this food in a way that would strengthen our bodies, and that its whole occasion may bring memories that last a very long time. We ask this in the name of Christ, who strengthens us always. Amen.
What I thought we might do is let the head table go and get the salads first, and then maybe always start here, just work our way around on the tables. And then if you're one that likes your meat a little rare, go on out and pick up your meat, and if you want to wait till it's a little more done, go ahead and do that when you feel like you're ready. And I'll try and keep you posted as far as how the meat's going, so you'll know when to go get it. So those at the head table, Mom and Dad. Before we ask for a toast for Mom and Dad, I thought I might share with you a little bit about how they met and their wedding. They met at a dance on Saturday night at Green Lake. The next time Mom saw Dad was after closing the Dutton service station. Dad rode into Home Acres with a friend. The car was set broadside. The car door opened and Dad fell out and slid in the curb. When Mom saw him, there Dad was, lying on the curb, his bleeding forehead lying in the lap of... A couple of weeks later, they met again at Green Lake, and then two and a half years later, they were married. The wedding took place at 2 p.m. at a YWCA rustic chapel at Bear Lake in Van Buren County. Before the newlyweds were ready to leave on the honeymoon, the men, on Dad's side of the family, Dad on a fence post and carried him to their car. And a few miles later down the road, they smelled the Limburger cheese that was on the Their first meal was a hot dog at a roadside stand. That evening, the newlyweds took in the show the Cascades in Jackson. They honeymooned at the Hayes Hotel in Jackson. And the next morning, their new Ford had a flat tire. They honeymooned at New York's World Fair. In downtown New York, as a matter of fact, it was Times Square, Dad started to turn the wrong way on a one-way street. The policeman whistled him stop. Then came the car, rested his arm on the open window, and comforting said, "You folks will never get back to Michigan." Almost home, bang, another flat tire. A week later, they had an old-fashioned chivalry and ended up costing my dad $10. And I'm told that the men that gave him the chivalry went out and bought him a nice stable in. Uncle Bill, would you like to offer a toast?
Yeah. I'd like to propose a toast to Ken and Jane on their 50th. May they have a whole bunch more.
Phyllis, you have something you'd like to share with us this time?
Jane asked me to do a reading tonight, and you know, as this date grew closer, they got quite enthused about having this 50th anniversary party, and they decided maybe they should have another second honeymoon. Well, it was getting very close to party time, so they knew they couldn't be gone very long or very far. And they picked the town of Morrow in the state of Ohio. And this is what happened. They started on their journey just about a week ago to the little town of Morrow in the state of Ohio. Now, they had never been there, and they really didn't know that Morrow had been ridiculed a century or so. They went down to the depot for their tickets and applied for the tips.
If they would be willing to share an experience that they've had with my folks, and I thought I might call upon them. And then after these people have finished, maybe somebody else may have something they'd like to share, and I'll give them an opportunity to do that at that time.
You know, spent quite a number of years together. You get to the point where when you make a trip down, like when we came down here today, you drive along for 2 hours or an hour and a half and never say a word. You know, you run out of stuff to talk about so long ago. Unless something deer runs into your car or something else, you haven't got much to say. And so we decided, like all retired folks, that, you know, we should go on a cruise and we should take a trip and we should do some of these things. And knew that if we just went together, it was going to be rather dull. Because we only had each other to talk to each other, and as I say, you run out of somebody to talk to. So we got a real good deal to go to Yugoslavia. And I said, now, who's, who we want to take along? We had so many good times with Ken and Jane that we approached them. And Ken and Jane actually went out of Grand Rapids, we went out of Lansing, and they went with friends of ours that they met on the way, and we met in Yugoslavia, and we really had a fantastic time. In fact, it was so good, they say, you know, if you want to know who your friends are, take a trip with them. Had such a fantastic time that the next thing that came up was a cruise. We'd never been on a cruise, and so we cruised the Caribbean with Ken and Jane. And we had a great time. I don't know how many pounds Ken gained, but we did pretty good, didn't we, Ken? It was great. So then these promotion deals come along, you know, and Marion won a trip to Freeport in the Bahamas. And so anyway, that was by flight. We had to drive over to Miami. Well, we called up Ken and Jane because the gal said she'd give them the same deal. The ladies had to pay, no, the men had to pay, the ladies went free. Well, not really free. I think I paid most of the bills. But anyway, that was the deal. So we called these guys again, and they drove up from their little island resort and met us in Miami, I guess, wasn't it? Miami, I think so, in Miami. And we flew across, and we had a real good time there. That was just a wonderful time. So they've been very much a part of our lives, and we have appreciated their companionship. I think the most fantastic experience that I had with Ken, and Clarence Rodney was part of this, was on one of the fishing trips at Long Key. They went out, and we were going to do some bottom fishing for a grouper, and Ken rigged lines for Clarence and I, and we nicely got down on the bottom, and he had the chum bag out, and we was already started catching fish. And just about that time, Ken said, "Holy mackerel, look at those fish." And surrounding us were Spanish mackerel so thick you could almost walk on them. He said, "Get your lines off the bottom, get the sinkers off." And we tied a piece of styrofoam on, and we had a dozen shrimp. They like live shrimp. Well, needless to say, those dozen shrimp went in one big hurry. We said, "What's to do?" Here are all these fish. Here we are, about 3.5, 4 miles, I guess, out on the north side there, and we took the bag that was that the chum was in, a garbage bag, and we tied it to a marker of some guy's trap line out there, and they were painted like watermelons. We said we ought to be able to find that bag. So in we went, got 8 dozen shrimp, came back out, hit the line, come up about 10 markers, and there was our garbage bag, and there were the fish. And we started catching fish. And pretty soon the bait was getting low, and Ken said, "Well, I'll just let you guys, I'll let you guys catch the fish." And if anybody could ever tell me that anyone could get so tired that they couldn't lift a 4-pound fish in the boat. We just didn't want to give up, did we, Clarence?
That's right.
And that's an actual fact. I could not lift a 4-pound fish in the box. Ken just sat there laughing at us. And so we had the fish box, and it's a pretty good sized box. I think Ken's box a little wider than this, about 8 big, and that deep. We had it so full of fish, we had to sit on the cover. And we brought them in, fed the whole park. Well, fishermen, you know, we recover in a hurry, so we said the next morning, we're going to go out and see if there's any more of those fish out there. Sure enough, we left the garbage bag out there. We got some shrimp, we went out. Clarence tied into about a 7-pounder right off the bat, and that just licked him right there. He was done. He laid down on the seat. He said, "Good guys can fish." So Ken said, "Hey, you know, we ought to take the girls out here. All this fun, they would enjoy that." So we decided, after we caught about 15, 16 fish, went in, got out, Ken took the girls out, fish were gone.
I think he didn't want us to show him up, so he put us in a spot.
Did you move the garbage bag, Ken? Well, anyway, they've had such a good time together, and they've raised a nice bunch of kids and a nice family, and, you know, I think you folks really ought to get married. And since I'm a preacher, and by the powers that are vested in me by the state of Michigan and the United Methodist Church, I pronounce you a husband and wife. I hope you have a lot more good years.
It says, all those born before 1945. Consider the changes we have witnessed. We were born before television, before penicillin, before polio shots, frozen foods, Xerox, plastic, contact lenses, toothpaste, and film. Radar, credit cards, split atoms, laser beams, ballpoint pens, before pantyhose, dishwashers, clothes dryers, electric blankets, air conditioners, drip dry clothes, and before man walked on the moon. We got married first, and then lived together. How quaint can you be? We were before house husbands, gay rights, third dating, dual careers, and secure marriages. We report daycare centers, group therapies, and nursing homes. We never heard of FM radios, tape decks, electric typewriters, artificial hearts, word processors, yogurts, and guys wearing earrings. For us, time sharing meant togetherness, not computers, condominiums. A chip meant a piece of wood. Hardware meant hardware. Software was even a word. In 1940, Made in Japan meant junk. The term making out referred to how you did on your exam. Pizzas, McDonald's, and instant coffee are unheard of. We hit the scenes where 5 and 10 cent stores where you could buy things for 5 to 10 cents. Saunders or Wilson's sold ice cream cones for a nickel or a dime. For 1 nickel, you could ride a streetcar, make a phone call, buy a Pepsi, or enough stamps to mail 1 letter and 2 postcards. You could buy a new Chevy Coupe for $600, but who could afford one? A pity too, because gas was 11 cents a gallon. In our day, cigarette smoking was fashionable. Grass was mowed, Coke was a cold drink, and pot was something you cooked in. Rock music was grandma's lullaby, and aides were helpers in her principal's office. We were certainly not before the difference between the sexes was discovered, but we were sure to record sex change. We made do with what we had. We were the last generation that was so dumb as to think you needed a husband to have a baby. No wonder we were so confused and there is so much generation gap today. We survived. It's a better reason to celebrate. Next, I'd like to ask Mel the Craft, and feel free to stay right there at your table if you like now. Share something.
Well, I would like to say that I'm very happy that Ken and Jane have been part of our lives. And my husband, Carol, and I had some wonderful trips, fishing trips to Canada with them. And one trip in particular I would like to tell you about. We hiked back in the bush. That's the only way you could go. And back to a small lake where there was quite a large beaver dam. And we had our rubber rafts, and the fellows got the rafts in the water, and Jane and Carol were the first ones out on the lake, and then Ken and I. Well, in order to get in them, we had to walk out on a partly submerged log. And I guess Ken thought I looked like I needed some help. So he reached down his hand to help me, and we both fell in the lake. And I'll tell you, it wasn't a sandy beach. There was lily pads and muck and mire. We were one grand mess. But we had a good time anyway. We went on just the same. And no matter where we went, Jane always...
Ken and Jane a lot these days. They have been remain very near friends and have been for a long time. Ken is the kind of guy that'll get his shirt off his back. And Jane might be.
Here's her herbs.
We met Ken and Jane about half a lifetime ago anyway. In a rather memorable experience. We arrived in Dutton on Christmas Day in 1957. It was not a snowy Christmas, it was mud and rain. And if a putt passes over the hole without dropping, it is deemed to have dropped. The law of gravity holds that any object attempting to maintain a position in the atmosphere without something to support it must drop. The law of gravity supersedes the law of God. Same thing goes for a ball that stops at the brink of the hole and hangs there, defying gravity. You cannot defy the law of gravity. A putt that stops so close to the cup that it inspires comments like, you could blow it in, may be blown in, but only if it is no more than 3 inches from the hole. After all, no one wants to make a travesty of the game.
Uncle Vern.
Me next?
You're next. You would?
Boy, this has been sort of a sad and fantasy story these people are telling. I never caught a boatload of fish when I went to camp again. We went deer hunting. We never come back with a deer. I want to start Anybody over 60 did. I met Ken, another dollar life, I think. I met Ken out at a little restaurant out in Plainfield called the Plantation. Remember? We had a couple of nibbles. From there on out, it was just what we did do. We done a lot of fishing. The only time I remember fishing with you we did any good was the time out in Selkirk. You were fishing with a casting rod, and I had a cane pole, and you'd cast along the lily pads, and I'd take the cane pole and shake the bass out for you. We had a lot of fun. I think you caught 7 or 8. I didn't catch any. We got deer hunting. We sure got cool. Never bought a deer back, did we? Wasn't that nice? Nothing to take care of. We both had sort of the same theory on it. But Ken says, tell some funny stuff. You know, when you tell something funny, there's usually somebody that the joke is on. And everything I remember, the joke was on Jane. Really, it was. I was going to apologize to her before I got up here, but I didn't get a chance. Jane always had this appetite. You know, oh God, that woman could eat every hour on the hour. I never will forget one time we were up near Kalkaska, up in that area, going down a little old gravel road. We got to 4 corners and nobody's ever seen it before. And Jane said, if we turn left here, there's a nice little German restaurant down the road, just a couple miles. You know, we got down there, it looked like an old farmer's tool shed, and there was a nice little German restaurant. Well, she was good she could last an hour or so, and then we stopped again. I think one of the fun times we had was the trip we took to Hawaii with them. And the highlight of that was on the little hula dancer decided that Ken's lap was her chair. And she ate Ken's supper. Should I tell them what she did, what was left over? Probably not. Anyhow, she said Ken had her chair, and he was going to sit down, and she was sitting on his lap. That also turned out to be the night that Jane said Ken couldn't hardly catch the bait. That didn't happen very often with Ken, though, I don't think. We've been friends with him for a long time. Think the world of him. You can depend on him. Well, Jane's the gal who woke me up this morning with a kiss. I was sitting there having a cup of coffee when she walked in, but I wasn't quite awake. But Jane has kept that appetite. We're going to work on you. Here a couple weeks ago, we went up north to play golf, up by Grant. After we played, we went in and had a snack. Then we came back, found another restaurant, so we went to eat. Jane left her purse up there. So we went back and got it. You know, nobody said a word about it. They were also gentle people. They just said, the purse was left in Brigadoons, and we will get it. They've been the most fun people we've known. We just feel that anytime we need a friend, and I think they feel the same way. Even if I do have to pick on you. But we've only had for 50 years. Thank you.
Ann Landers had a little article in the paper. You know you're growing older. How to know you're growing older? Everything hurts, and what doesn't hurt doesn't work. The gleam in your eye is from the sun hitting your bifocals. Your little black book contains only names ending in MD. You get winded playing cards. You join a health club and don't go. You know all the answers, but nobody asks you the questions. You need glasses to find your glasses. You turn out the lights for economic rather than romantic reasons. Your knees buckle, but your belt won't. Your back goes out more times than you do. You have too much room in the house and not enough in the medicine chest. You sink your teeth into a steak and you stay there. Then in large letters it says, you wonder why more people don't use this size print. Phyllis, do you have something you want to share?
It's beginning to sound as though Ken and Jane did nothing the last 50 years but go on trips. We've had lots of good trips with them too. It seems as though we've known them forever. And the one trip I'm thinking of tonight was happened back in 1960. We went to Bodine Lake in the Upper Peninsula. Claire and I were there and had our camp set up, and a couple days later, Ken and Jane and the kids came. And Ken got out of the car and started to unload his boat, or his little rubber boat and his tent and sleeping bags and everything. Jane got out, reached behind her seat, and pulled out a bag of golf clubs. She said, "Come on, Phil, we have to do a little practicing." So while we're out shooting balls up and down the beach, Ken's setting up camp. Well, he got so tired, he sat in a lawn chair and fell asleep. Well, we couldn't miss that, so we went to the trash barrel and found an empty beer bottle. Put it in his elbow and took a picture of him sleeping there with the beer bottle. It was a real cute picture, and I had several made. The only thing is, every time I showed Ken one, he tore it up. But yeah, I found one more. You better get there before Ken does.
Thanks. Uncle Bill, is there something you want to?
Well, I'm going to go way back. I think Ken was probably 19, maybe 18 or 17. I don't know. He was playing with the Caledonia Ball Club. I was a lot younger, of course. I kind of looked up to him a little. And he was all arms and legs. You wouldn't know it now, but he was like a whale with two fence posts tied to him. But he couldn't throw the ball. And he played third base. And I'll never forget. He'd hit a shot down to him, and he'd scoop it up, and then he'd stand there. And the guy would get about 3 feet from first base, and then he'd cut loose. Get him every time. Except once in a while, he threw it right over the trees. He had an arm like a bullet, those days. I remember that for a long time.
And it starts. We're discussing who.
Well, we went on a trip. We didn't go on a trip with them. We met them in Augusta. And we went to the Augusta golf course there. And Ken was just flabbergasted how rough it looked. It wasn't rough, was it, Ken? He had a good time looking over the golf course. And Jane and I have been golf partners for a long while, and it's been great. Congratulations.
Thank you. Now, I thought if there was somebody else that had experience that they might like to share, I'd give them an opportunity to do that. Yes.
Well, we probably haven't known Jane and Ken as long as most of you, but we met in 1962 at the Common Bowling Alley, where we bowled for many, many years. And we also have taken a lot of trips with them. The one that I'm thinking of, we really didn't take with them, but we were going to meet them in Calgary, Canada, at the time of the Stampede in July. And I was talking to Jane, we live in Florida also, and I said, but we don't have a reservation. When I called the KOA in Calgary, they said, well, you have to reserve a year ahead, and this might have been maybe March or April, and we were going up in July. Well, Jane said, you know, we were taking our motorhome from Michigan, and she says, we're going to take our motorhome to Washington, and she said, why don't we meet in Calgary? They're coming from Washington State, and we're coming from Michigan, and we don't know where we're going to stay, because everything is reserved. But the man at the KOA said to me, when I talked to him on the phone from Florida, but come along anyway. He said, we'll find someplace for you. So Jane said, what day do you think you're going to be there? Of course, we had left the latter part of May for this trip, and we had to determine what day we were going to be in Calgary. But anyway, we set a time that we thought we would be there, a day we would be there. And I said, let's pick out the KOA West. There are 3 or 4 KOAs in Calgary, because you know, it's a couple million at least people. And so Jane said, okay, we'll meet you there, and I'll tell you what we'll do. She said, if we miss each other, she says, we'll meet at the closest McDonald's the next morning for breakfast. We met them, and we didn't have to go to McDonald's the next morning for breakfast, but we met. The KOA was full, but they were putting us in a gas station lot. And when we pulled into Calgary, we went to the KOA park, and my husband said, do we have a message from the Leathermans? And this fella said, hey, if you're looking for a message, look on that board over there, and there are about 1,000 messages, you know, from people who are meeting. So we drive back down, he told us where to go, down to this gas station, and we come out of the KOA, we start going down, and all of a sudden, a bus stops, the door opens, and Jane says, Jan, you know, and they've been on a school bus down at a parade in downtown Calgary, and they were on their way back, and we both did each other just like that. So Jane always knows the answers. And we enjoyed this too.
Is there anybody else that has anything? Oh, Jack, yes.
Again, he told me I this is the war. This is the war.
Well, Ken called me up just before I went to bed, and he asked me if I would say a few things because we have lived next door to Ken and Jane for 40 years. I don't think anybody can say that here, Ken. We know their heartbeat, and it says in Proverbs 16:16 that a friend at all times. Now that's a pretty hard thing to live up to, isn't it, Pastor Delaney? At all times, somebody gets a little ticked off, get it, you know. A friend loveth at all times. 40 years we've lived next to Ken and Jane. And never had any better neighbors ever. And we stayed there, and I haul manure when she's had her friends, probably some of you. I'm the guy. We're still friends. Did we do that? Really, truly. And kids grew up together, fish hooks in the eyes. Remember that kid? And we still survive. All those things happen. And as friends and neighbors, we still survive. And I think that really we've had just a great time. Ken's an excellent neighbor. Jane can do anything except cook oatmeal. Well, let's see. Funny things, I don't know. You know, he said, I really don't know what to say about funny things. I saw their roof go off one time. They were in Florida, landed in the middle of Panel Lake Road, and surely that wasn't funny. Their dog used to come over and take a nap on our bedspread. Frida, remember? They never knew their dog was. Well, he'd come over and he'd sleep on our bed. You know, that's all right. You know, we got along great. You let somebody's dog sleep on your bed? Friend loves it at all times. And we love that dog, too. And I could tell you funny things about Cat, but I won't do it. I'll spare him. A little later we'll tell you. But I remember one time Ken and I took George and Clarence fishing. And all George talked about was the fish in Canada. Remember, Ken? There was nothing like Canadian fish. So Ken and I were sitting there, and George said, oh, I'm snagged up. Ken looked at me, and I looked at Ken, and Ken said, should we tell him? And I said, no. Pretty soon the line started to move, you know. Remember that, Ken? George swallowed all Canada that afternoon. And remember the time we shoved that 5-foot shark in the back of the boat when Clarence was there? We never done that again, would we? Never again. That was the last time. But we got lost in the fog together, and I hadn't done any really serious map finding since I got out of the service, and we survived that. Gas station days in Dutton, when he was an honest guy full of integrity, and he treated you fair, and just a great guy to do business with. How we enjoyed that. So accommodating, he'd do anything. And I remember when he built Briarwood Golf Course. He'd come home at night, limping, bent over like this. Remember that, Jane? Unfortunately, the guy never survived, but he did. He's a survivor. And I'll tell you, he's the kind of a neighbor that we cut our vacation short a couple days to come here to be home. Because he's just that great of a friend, and that great of a neighbor. And I'll tell you, I wish that if you ever have a neighbor like Ken and Jane, I hope you appreciate it. They're great people.
Thanks, Jack. I used to work for Jack, and he used to
That's
work pretty
right.
hard.
That Jack was telling you about, I got tired of cranking and Ken cranked him in, then Jack cooked him in a gap with a hook. That happens.
And I'd like to say that Jane sure knows how to cook fish. Jane is an excellent guide when we go to Florida. Takes us out for all the nice shelling along the coastline. We enjoyed that. Took us down to Key West our first time down. Patiently waited while Ken and I did the tours. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ken, the Sunday after we got back from that fishing trip, the title of my sermon was Holy Mackerel.
Yeah, my dad always used to say when I was fishing with him, stop playing with him and get him in the boat. I'll drink him for all I was worth. We're going to have some dessert coming here shortly, and I guess, do we ask them to have bring it in?
Kenny knows where the ice cream is.
Okay.
And then
So
we've got the
yeah, we got the cake and the ice cream coming, so I think that'll be happening tonight.
That's fun, you know. Just a second. I can remember eating cookies in Grandma's house. We had to sit on the steps. We would get crumbs all over. And we would stay overnight. For just, I don't know why parents might want to get rid of us for a while. And I would sleep in that one room with that table with the holes in it. And we would sleep under it and play house and stuff. What else? Everything. My whole life, I've really looked up a lot. And I can remember Grandma, you telling me how you and Grandpa met. We were in Florida. That was really fun. I don't know why I cried. I just want to say also that you've done a lot of things for me that you'll probably never know. A lot of things that I appreciate. Like, just little things like manners and etiquette. I can always remember going to fancy restaurants with you, and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I learned a lot. I learned a heck of a lot. And little things like that. And now Grandpa bought my truck from me, so that's really nice. I think that's it.
It's raining all the time. There's this mountains, about 50 miles in, then the clouds hit the mountains and the rain drops. No clouds get over the mountains. It's raining. Move it slow. We got clean up there. It's all irrigation. These channels come out. perfect. I haven't got up late today.
He's having a select vacation. I don't get to go back.
Did you?